One of the new features in FileMaker 11 is a polished layout report assistant. I say polished because at first glance it may not seem much different from FileMaker 10. What they've done is made it easier and more intuitive to discover reports. Now we're going to cover reporting extensively, sub-summary reports and summary fields, so you may not really need to know how to use a report assistant. I don't use it personally. It's really for people who are doing very light work in FileMaker to walk them through the process. But we're going to show it anyhow so you can see it, and sometimes you may decide, hey, this makes things easier for me. Personally, I think it makes things more difficult. I know all the nuts and bolts. I want to do it myself, but let's go over it and see how it works. So let's go to the Layouts menu and choose New Layout Report. And you won't see much change here. There's a different picture here. It's really the same picture. The content's the same, but they've made it a little bit prettier. But the real major change here is that they've separated List View and Report. They used to be one choice in FileMaker 10 and earlier versions. Now they're separate, which makes it a little bit easier to discover, more intuitive to find out where reporting is. And now this section down here is the same as they had before, but it's on the initial screen rather than later on. So you can check and uncheck the subtotals and watch the changes happen over here. If I uncheck the grand totals, we'll see that the blue area appears and disappears. So that's kind of nice to be able to see that right before you go into it. It gives you an idea what that report looks like rather than going list view / report. How are those related? They are in a way, but maybe not to a beginner. So we'll hit next. And then this is the same. We'll just move all fields. You probably wouldn't normally do that, but this is not really changed. This decides which fields are going to be on the layout. And then here's where you decide what the categories are. And we'll just choose city, and you'll see that it changes the picture over here. And then if I add another categorization, then it adds and changes this picture also. So these are your sub-summary parts, which we'll discover later. We'll discover how to make these categories here. Now this part hasn't really changed. It allows you to go ahead and specify your sort order. These ones are locked because you have to sort by these because that's what categorizations you added. You can add more fields if you want. Now here's where there's another change. It may look the same, but when you click Specify for the summary field, you can actually add a summary field right into FileMaker without going to Manage Database. So it's a little bit easier. I mean, this is a fairly easy dialog to understand. Choose a name for the field, average count. You don't have to go through Manage Database, and hopefully it's a little bit easier for beginners. I'm not actually going to add anything here because this is really where the changes end. There's a couple of little changes, a little bit prettier, a little bit better wording on the descriptions here and things like that, but that's about it. Well, there is one more thing I'll point out. If we hit next and keep going through, this is where you do your grand totals, and here's where you do your theme, all the same. Here's where you put header and footer information. But here's where you have something different. You can actually attach script triggers, and that's what this run script automatically means. You can go ahead and decide to have it run as soon as that layout is shown. And that's very helpful. I like this edition a lot. It's probably my favorite edition because if you're using this, you have to remember that you have to go ahead and run that script before you go to that layout. This will have it all ready to go. As soon as you visit that layout, that script will run in the background and make sure it's sorted and all the good stuff to make sure that your report comes out correctly. So I do like that. And all in all, there's some nice little improvements. They're minor little tweaks, but it really will help you out if you're using this. Again, we're going to cancel this right now, and we're going to cover sub-summary reporting extensively and do a lot with this because reporting is one of the main reasons why you have a database. You want to make sense of your information. So we're going to show you every in and out of how to do a report.